Hi guys. How are you? Just checking in. I wanted to just pose a thought to all of you out there. Have you ever thought about is it possible to love somebody without actually being in love with them, right? Now, I know how I feel about this because I have shared this and said this many times over and over. But I think a lot of people either have never thought about this concept, or they just don't know about it, or maybe they just, nobody's ever asked them that. I don't know. But it is very, very possible and actually very normal to go through times in your relationship where you are not actually actively in love with somebody, but you still have love for them, right? Like, let me explain. You might let's just say you're married, right? And you're going through a time in your marriage where maybe there's nothing going on majorly, like there's nothing really wrong. So there's no active arguments, there's no highs, like there's no high or low. You're just kind of like an even plane. And maybe even, let's say one of your partner ends up maybe in the hospital doing, just something happened or whatever, and they end up in the hospital, and maybe they're prolonged in the hospital, prolonged. So, you're past the honeymoon stage, as they say, the honeymoon stage, and you're also past any major highs as far as maybe even having children or something like that, and now you're kind of in the stage where you're, like I said, not actively feeling overly in love, where you're not feeling butterflies or you're not having these emotional swings of any type, right? And now the person is in a hospital, right? And that, but not not any major concerning, no death or nothing, nothing to be scared of or fearful of or whatever. Just maybe they're just in the hospital, or they're just maybe they're just someplace where it requires you to show what we call agape love, right? Agape love is because love is a verb and love is action, right? And but some people think of love being some men think that love being a verb is their action is making love. They think that's making love or whatever, that's that's their action of being in love or something. But no, let's say this person who might need you or whatever, and you have to come to their aid. Maybe you show up for them, whether it's in the hospital or something like that, or even better yet, what if you're older and your mate goes to the nursing home, like we've all seen in movies like The Notebook or whatever, and your mate is can't even consciously even recognize you, right? So you're way past the highs and lows, and you're not experiencing anything like that or whatever, and it's not butterflies, it's not brand new things like that, right? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. The peaks or the even planes, times like that, where you're not actively overly feeling stimulated by the person or in love, right? And are you, the question I'm asking is are you still in love with that person even though you're not, really showing it or maybe feeling it? And the answer is actually yes. The reason why I answer this yes is because I have taken time, and I encourage everyone out there to take your time to actually understand the different types of love, specifically the different types of love that the Bible talks about. Agape love, there's steros love, and then there's phileo love. I'm sure I'm not saying it correctly because I'm not Greek or Hebrew. But anyway, these three different types of love, one of them is a friendship love, phileo. I think that is like Philadelphia, the town Philadelphia. That root word or whatever, phileo love, that is the they call it what do they say, that's the city of brotherly love. Anyway, friendship, right? So it's someone that they're a good friend of yours and you have love for them, right? You have love for them. Then there is agape love. Agape love is, again, you attach yourself to somebody for a purpose, to see something all the way out, right? So it's like you absolutely should agape love your mate for sure. But again, let's say like the example I gave, they're in a nursing home or something like that, right? And but you still have love for them, and you are still actively showing up for them. You're still, making sure they're cared for. Maybe you come every day, like he did in the Notebook. He read to her every day. He's putting his socks on her feet, or whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? You're being there for that person, right? Even though you may or may not actually have any sexual feelings, right, or any romantic feelings, or having any real highs for that person, right? That's agape love. You're attaching yourself to that person to make sure, the purpose is to make sure they're okay, make sure that their well-being is, cared for and everything, right? That's showing agape love. And then there's the other one, which we all know, romantic love, which is romantic love. But the fact of the matter is that in a marriage, in a good marriage, and I'm not talking about toxic traits, controlling behaviors, narcissistic traits, or any type of manipulation, runner chasing, mind games, mental gymnastics, or, just manipulating for any evil force whatsoever, lying, cheating, stealing, all those things. Okay, none of those things is is at all what I'm alluding to, right? Believing. So nix all of that out of your brain for sure, because nobody wants to deal with any of that garbage. Okay. Anyway, but in any relationship, you will go through kind of, you may go through some highs and lows for sure. Periods that are absolutely high, like let's say when you buy your first house together, or you buy your first car together, or you buy, or you have your first child together, or things like that. Those are considered highs, right? And then lows could be, obviously times that are, hard times, right? Not lows as in beating each other up, or somebody busting somebody's lip out, or, going to jail, or that's not what I mean by low. That's not a low, that's toxic, and that behavior needs to be nixed. I'm not talking about that again, but just regular lows. Let's say maybe your mate loses their job, right? And or a low, like I said, could be laid up in the hospital, or just laid up and sick, or nothing, during those times, right? You're going to have that up and down in any marriage, right? And that is very, very, very normal. But when you lose those romantic feelings, or maybe when the feelings are not there anymore, right? And you're not even, and maybe you might have even lost attraction. I mean, that could happen. I mean, let's just keep it real, right? Sometimes your mate may gain a lot of weight. And I know we're supposed to love each other. And you can still, again, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You can still love that person. You absolutely can still have love for that person and love that person. But if you're not physically attracted to them anymore, you're losing that because they are no longer taking care of themselves. Heck, they might even have bad breath. Okay. Whatever it is that's just making you feel like, you're just not as physically attracted to them, right? But you are still showing agape love, right? And that is, pretty common in relationships. I mean, where agape love pretty much takes over. And maybe you just want peace, right? Maybe you just want some peace. Okay. Anyway, it is absolutely normal though to experience those kind of peaks and valleys. Okay. If you're a Christian, if you believe in God, right? During those times, especially the times where you're not experiencing a major high, it's really good to actually, to look at your relationship with God, right, and your partners, and see if there's any growth that can happen, right? That's a good time to grow closer to God, because God will bring you back to a natural high, because His love from God, is really the highest form of love, right? And agape love, that's what agape love really is. So when you get a chance to actually experience that, or if you're experiencing a low time, or a boring time, not toxic, I'm just saying a boring flatline, like you just kind of flatline, or you're just coasting along. That's a good time to go ahead and, pray with your mate. You can read your scriptures together, or you can work on a spiritual goal together. You can have some sort of spiritual goal together, whatever that may be. Maybe you have a mission together. It could be anything, helping the homeless, feeding the hungry, whatever that is that you perceive or feel that is a spiritual mission or whatever together. It is really good to either work on that or foster those types of goals during those times, right? Because it can build the two of you together. It could bring you guys closer together, and bring you closer to God, right? And help you to also not run during times of stress, of high stress, or of even extreme highs. So what do I mean by that too? Like some men are known to be what we call avoidantly attached men. And that in particular, avoidantly attached men tend to run away during peak stress, right? If they're feeling super stressed about something, or overwhelmed or whatever, especially, but even when they start to feel love, even when they feel a strong love connection forming, or they feel themselves like love is bubbling up on the inside of them, and they've never felt that before, they don't even know why they feel it, they're kind of confused, right? And they will shut down. They will avoid the topic. They may even avoid you. And the rest of the world, if you're an anxiously attached woman, that's going to trigger you into acting crazy and dysregulating your hormones. If you're a securely attached woman, you're going to perceive it to be unloving, rude, and you're going to perceive it to be, well, they don't love you anymore. So, after a while, that woman will say, he has consistently shown patterns of not attaching to me, or, disengaging, or running in the opposite direction, and that's just not love. So she's going to move on. She's just going to simply detach and move on because she's securely attached, right? And, but she will just unattach herself. She's not going to dysregulate. Her emotions are not going to go crazy. She's not going to go, throw herself off of a bridge and say, I'm going to kill myself, or, start drinking herself into a stupor or anything like that, right? But anyway, avoidantly attached men can sometimes perceive these lows or highs in very different ways. They can run for both of them. They can tend to run for both of them if they're not prepared with the knowledge that this is normal in relationships, right? It is normal. So in times that are like kind of like even keel, the rest of us may even call that peace. The rest of us may call that like, oh gosh, we got a time of rest. We got a time of peace now. We can have some peace, right? Nothing crazy is going on. And people who are more securely attached and securely raised are gonna like totally latch on to the fact that there's a time of peace, right? And be happy, content. An avoidantly attached person is gonna perceive sometimes there to be a little bit of like, oh my God, what's happening? It's too calm. I gotta create some chaos. So sometimes they will create chaos, right? Just to kind of, it's like they want to poke the bear. To see if you still love them, kind of thing. So they may run, or they may create a chaos or chaotic moment, or just, something to kind of like, it's like they want to create a little commotion, right? That is actually, that is absolutely borderline toxic and manipulative, okay? But especially if you are with somebody who is, who doesn't feed into your type of crazy, right? Because everybody has a little bit of crazy or some sort of crazy, right? But everybody has to like, it's like everybody's crazy has to match the other person's crazy. It has to be a good match, like a puzzle piece, right? Or a good vibrational match to each other. So what will happen is depending on who they're matched to and who they're attached to, will depend on, that's going to depend on her actions, right? If she is like, the type of woman who's like, you know what? I'm not going to get chaotic. I'm not going to get chaotic with you. I'm not going to chase after you. I'm not going to run after you. I'm not going to do anything but file my nails and give you a minute let you have your space and your minute, right? And eventually walk away and find somebody else, right? But what that might do to him sometimes is, depending on the situation and depending what type of avoidant person he is, sometimes it makes him, it starts to activate his crazy inside of him, like, oh, she doesn't love me because she's not reacting or responding to me. And he may even give up. He may just perceive your lack of crazy to be not loving. Or sometimes he perceives it to be, okay, I'm not getting a response out of her. I got to do some more stuff. Or I gotta, come toward you and act whatever and poke the bear some more, right? And try to get a reaction out of you. Okay? So all of that is what we call being in your head. All of that is called being in your head and overthinking what God has actually laid out very clear in the Bible. What are the types of love there are? How you should show them, like this type of love, that type of love, okay, and how you should show them and to who, right? So it is absolutely, positively very true a lot about what we hear about avoidance and anxious attachment styles and stuff like that, and how to handle them, right? Or how to handle that. That's true. But the goal is to not stay anxiously attached or avoidantly attached. A lot of men are avoidantly attached. The goal is not to stay that way. The goal is to find yourself regulated by God's Holy Spirit, okay, and by God's view of what love is, right? And the goal is to come out of your head and get your spiritual knowledge in the Bible, through prayer, through the Bible, and through prayer, and also with the person in question, with your person that you're in a relationship with, or friendship, or whatever the case, but I'm talking about specifically relationships. The goal, or what should be done, and this is why in the Bible, he says, in the Bible, you always hear him say, put down your gift. If you have a gift that you're trying to, when you had a gift to go take to Jehovah to the altar, lay your gift down. He said, what did he say? Lay your gift down and go speak to your brother who you have issue with, someone who has an issue with you. Go speak to him and apologize and clear up any air between the two of you, any bad air, bad blood, or whatever, right? Like, you're supposed to make amends with your brother. But this is absolutely 100% true for your mate. That's why the Bible says you're not supposed to even let the sun set with in a provoked state. Now, again, all of this in the Bible, this works if you are not toxic. If you are a very toxic, unhealthy individual who has unhealed with childhood traumas and things like that, it's going to be hard for you to stay in that state of spirituality. It's going to be very hard, and you're going to need, you really are going to need extra, psychotherapy, just, therapy in general, or a psychiatrist or something, right? You're going to need to get some extra additional help. You just will, because honestly, there's probably something going on in your brain that's could be unbalanced or whatever, and you're going to need that additional help, okay, to get regulated properly, okay? But I'm just talking about all non-toxic traits, okay? So when you get stuck in your head sometimes and you're not sure, like, oh, you're just thinking a lot about this, thinking about her, thinking about how to act, thinking about him, thinking about whatever, right? You're just overthinking things in your head, right? Not sure what to do. Think whatever that issue is, like, for example, you're experiencing a kind of like a even plane, or a time, like I said, a balanced time, and maybe you're feeling a little hurried on the inside, like you're feeling a little anxious on the inside, like, I'm not sure how to perceive this non-crazy time that we're having, or hyper-vigilant activated time. Okay. Pray. I always say pray to God and ask him what he would have you to do, right? And give you signs, and light your steps up, light your footsteps, so that as you start walking in a certain direction, as you see things happening for you, right? Like, okay, if you decide to, go in this direction towards her or him or whatever, and you are, your pathway is lit, like you're blessed, you're being blessed. Okay, that is a sign that you're in the right direction, right? So you want to go in prayer to God all the time about everything. It's like, if you do that, if you decide to do that, it doesn't matter really how you are attached. If you are anxiously attached or if you are avoidantly attached, none of that matters. When your attachment to God, it comes first, and his way, and you have clearly prayed to him for the answer in your particular situation, right? Because sometimes when we pray, we say go to God, and all of us know certain scriptures that say certain things. Okay, that's like for example, God says, don't steal, don't lie, right? These are basic things, right? But we all know that in the Bible there were times that even Jehovah commanded his servants or his prophets or whatever to do certain things that were misleading. Okay, or even there were Bible wars, where, like King David, they killed in the name of Jehovah, right? In the name of God. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means ultimately he is the judge of your situation, of every situation, knowing the right thing to do in every situation. Like, for example, it's like you get married, but you find out or you realize that your mate is highly toxic, very toxic, very unhealthy, very toxic, right? And you're like, oh God hates a divorcing. Oh my God, God hates a divorcing. You are, and you're thinking, well, I'm still legally married, then I still have to stay married to this person. I have to stay married because, God wants me to stay in a toxic environment. Well, everybody has to do their own prayer to God and have their own come to Jesus moment. Okay, and let God direct you in that particular, in your particular case, right? And he will help you have, he will help you in a proper way to have a real judgment, and how do I want to say this? He will help you in your particular case, right? To show you what is the best judgment in your case, right? And the reason why Jehovah can do that with the scales, he can kind of look and see, what's going on in your case and what needs to happen or whatever, and then guide you and direct you. The reason why he can do that is because he sees everything. He sees all sides. He sees everything that's going on, right? He sees the things that you don't see, and he sees the things that other people don't see, right? And he knows the intentions. He sees the heart and the intentions of people around you, right? And he might, for your own best, for your own benefit, or for your own best interest at heart, he might say, I see the people around you, the intentions and what's going on, the scheming or whatever, and he might say, yeah, it's best for you to leave, or he might not, right? So that just depends. But this is why you want to let go of your own fears and your own way of thinking it's best to handle, like run and stick your head in the sand, or not call, or avoid your mate, or sleep on the couch for weeks and weeks and weeks, or whatever, right? It's best to not do that. It's best to go to the Bible to see what scriptures could help you deal with this situation, and then prayer, right? And when you do that or whatever, he will reveal to you and actually give you the answers that you need so that you can have some peace of mind. Because the goal is to not give in to your anxious attachment or your avoidantly attachment ways, because either one can be imbalanced and can be hurtful. The goal is to kind of become more securely attached, and especially securely attached to God, and letting him guide your steps. Yeah, so anyway, that's it for this video.